Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the ultimate showdown. In this corner, we have the man with the giant hands and the booming voice, Tony, the Transformer Robbins. And in the other corner, we have the master of the mind, the doctor of quantum physics, Joe, the brain Dispenza. They've written books, they've held seminars, and now they are in a battle for your personal transformation. So get the popcorn ready and let's see who comes out on top. Aloha, y'all. Daniel Aaron here, your guide to vibrant living. And on this channel, you get entertainment, inspiration, and empowerment, actionable personal and spiritual development that you can use in your life today. Boxing ring joking aside, I have not only had the great blessing of spending a lot of time with both Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza since my own spiritual awakening in 1995, I have been a junkie for personal and spiritual development, which is to say, I am uniquely positioned to share with you. Both Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza have overcome massive challenges in their life, and both of them on physical levels overcame some really strong advice from medical professionals, decided to heal themselves, and that is part of what makes them such an authority in their fields, what they have overcome themselves. I personally was 20 years into my own work facilitating transformational events when a friend of mine highly recommended that I go to one of Tony Robbins' events. Now, I'd listened to programs of his, I'd read books, I'd appreciated him, I looked up to him, I thought he was a great leader, and the event brought a whole different understanding of what he does. Not only, well, luckily I was well prepared because my friend said to me, it's gonna be a bit rah-rah, over the top and loud, you might not like all of that, which is true, I didn't, but he said, go with it, just get into it. And so I was able to, and honestly, y'all, I was blown away. I was in a room, this was in Chicago, with 10,000 people, and the quality of the work, the program, a 4-day thing, his basic program called Unleashing the Power Within, it was mind-blowing. The level of transformation that happened for so many people in the room, and for me personally, and this is after 25 years of hardcore personal and transformational growth in these kind of events, I was blown away. It had a big impact on my own teaching, on the events I ran. It really influenced me, and I was so sold on what he was doing. I immediately saw that of anybody I had seen, and I'd say this still holds true, he is the top for his ability to help people transform. Not only was I well sold on who he was as a leader and someone who can help people transform, I realized that for me, with an aligned mission, which is to help as many people as possible upgrade their lives to greater and greater vibrancy, I had a lot I could learn from this man, so I dove deeply into his world. For 2 years, I traveled around the world attending his events. I did what's called a platinum partnership with him, which means I invested well over $100,000. I took my daughter, who was 9 and 10 during those years, to many events. She actually got up on stage with Tony and helped him run an intervention with a participant in that group. Not only is Tony a master of intervention, by which I mean his ability to work with someone one-on-one in a group to help them overcome limiting beliefs, to transform, to evolve, he is an incredible leader and teacher. He takes something that's complex, makes it simple, delivers it in an entertaining way, and in such a way that people can put it to use in their life. And the way he runs those events and moves energy in those large groups is phenomenal. Likewise, Joe Dispenza has an incredible ability to be charismatic, to be clear, to take very complex stuff and break it down in such a way that people can understand it. And for me personally, even though I had been into personal and spiritual development for so many years as a yogi and yoga teacher, honestly, there was a part of me that was like, oh, I don't know about this quantum physics stuff. It feels really hard to understand. And it was when I really dove into Joe Dispenza's work that I realized this is something that I can understand. In fact, it was so illuminating and exciting for me that he took such complex science and made it so easy to understand, and the application and relevance to the spiritual and the yoga world was, for me, astounding. It had a big influence on my work also. Anybody who has the level of success and popularity that these two men have had will also attract criticism. I've seen and heard lots of criticism on both of them, and there may be truth to any of the criticism. What I know also, though, is they both have big hearts, genuine desire to help people, and they do it really well. You could say that Tony's focus is more on psychology and business. He's often called a motivational speaker, which is not exactly accurate. He's really about action and implementation. On the flip side, Joe Dispenza, you could say, is more around science and spirituality, that beautiful intersection. He's done some astounding work and gotten some incredible results for people healing from physical stuff, deep stuff, often like advanced cancer and other physical illness. And while Tony's less known for the spiritual aspect of his work, it's actually a big part of what he does. Both of these guys lead big events attended by thousands of people, and I highly recommend that if you can, you actually go to an event, because there is a huge difference between listening to something, reading something, and actually being there live in person in the energy of the event. It could be argued that Tony's work is a little more surface level, and certainly it reaches more people. The events are much larger. And on the flip side, Joe Dispenza tends to go more deeply. For a lot of folks, the first entry into a Joe Dispenza event is his week-long advanced retreat, which has prerequisites. One of the benefits of that is that the people who show up, and it might be 1,500, 2,000 people, they've got a pretty good understanding of what he's about, and a starting point that's a bit deeper than if you just walked in off the street. They both stress the importance of ongoing work, that yeah, a lot, and it's amazing what can happen in a 4-day or 7-day event. It's truly phenomenal, because the group energy and what they create through the process that's known as entrainment, the group vibration takes things up, and it allows people that might be even resistant to transformation to really get some powerful insight and change. Nonetheless, both Tony and Joe stress the importance of ongoing practice or staying in the energy of it. Now, arguably, Joe Dispenza does more on this because he's produced some phenomenal meditations, these guided hypnotic meditation experiences, which is a core part of his work. And he so stresses the importance of doing this work on a daily basis. I've done it for many years and found incredible benefit from it. One of the recommendations from Tony is that you schedule in your life and in your calendar transformational events, what you could call an intensive learning experience. This is what we were speaking of earlier. It's when you leave home, when you leave stuff behind and you go and you get into this group energy, and ideally you're solely focused on that. Again, if it's 4 days or 7 days or 2 weeks, whatever it is, you have an intensive high level of transformation. It means your vibration or your frequency might go from here to way up here in a very short time. Really powerful. I facilitate events like this, and I make sure that I attend events like this on a regular basis. One of the ways that Tony recommends that you keep it going, or you keep that momentum in your life, is that you also engage in coaching, by which he means work with a professional. And he has his certified coaches. You could say that Joe kind of leans away from the commercial aspect, whereas Tony clearly leans into it. He's a businessman for sure. Don't be fooled either, because Joe Dispenza has created a very lucrative and profitable business, which I respect. I appreciate that. That's part of what it takes to run that and to scale up and be able to reach and positively impact more people. I recommend both. Like, All of these things are so important when it comes to your ongoing evolution. Yes, go to intensive transformational in-person events. Virtual ones are also great. Yes, have daily positive rituals that you use to keep your vibration going up, to create your life rather than by being in reaction to all that's coming at you in the world. And absolutely, coaching can be incredibly helpful. Personally, I've had mentors and coaches active in my life, several that I go to, several that I work with for more than 20 years, because I know that there's a lot that I can learn. And if I can lean into and benefit from somebody who's got my best wishes at heart, who is willing to give me their experience, who's willing to hold me accountable for what I say I want to create in my life, well, that absolutely speeds up the results I get, makes it more fun, and avoids a lot of the heartache and pain. So, personally, I'm an optimalist. I say use everything at your disposal as long as it's not harmful to yourself or to someone else. Now, if we go back to my joking introduction about this battle, well, it's not a battle, and the question really for you, the most fundamental one, is what do you want in your life? How do you want to evolve? And if you're watching this, and if you're familiar with Tony and or Joe, I assume that means that you know more is possible in your life. Maybe there's some pain or challenge that you want to overcome, to reprogram. Maybe you just want to create more. So whether it's Tony or Joe, the most important thing is do something, as in get more clear as to what's possible for you, get that motivation, commit to creating what you want. The big question is, how committed are you to your transformation? One of my teachers used to say, if somebody is ready to wake up, it doesn't matter what technique they use. If somebody's not ready to wake up, it doesn't matter what technique they use. By the same token, whether it's Joe or Tony, more important than that is, are you ready? Are you committed? Something that both Tony and Joe agree on, and I'm right there with them, is we all must take 100% responsibility for our lives. Now, that doesn't mean beat ourselves up or blame ourselves for what's happened. What it means is our lives are the way they are because of the combination of what we've thought and what we've done. We all have pasts. We can't change the past. And our pasts do not define our present or our future. Tony, Joe, either, both, my recommendation is, if you can, go to events with both of them. If, on the other hand, resources are limited and you don't have unlimited time and money in order to go to both, and you really feel like you need to choose, here are a couple things you might consider. One, Joe Dispenza's work is really suited for those who are working on overcoming physical injuries or conditions. Check out his YouTube channel and the testimonials of people who have overcome certain issues or maladies in their physical lives. Not only is it astounding and impressive, it is incredibly touching. More than once I've looked at these stories and it's brought tears to my eyes, and it's so beautiful to see the difference it's made in people's lives. Joe Dispenza's events are spiritual in a way that for me was surprising and refreshing. At the Joe Dispenza event, the first time I went, I was blown away by the atmosphere of encouraged spirituality that is there, right? Meaning that there is an encouragement to be present to the movement of energy, which can show up as, that can happen in a Kundalini experience or a spiritual awakening, is what I call the Kundalini shakes. And that's when energy is moving through, you can call it prana from the yogic tradition, where energy is moving through in such a way that the body shakes and it looks weird. Now, when I was at the Tony Robbins event, I didn't want to show that, right? I was like, maybe this might be a little bit too weird for people. At a Joe Dispenza event, that kind of energy is prevalent and encouraged and understood. And I had never been at some kind of event where that energy is accepted and encouraged like that. At both of their events, you can absolutely expect that there will be loud music, There will be dancing. If you found this useful, if you're interested in connecting more or working with me personally, one-on-one or in one of my groups, I will put a link in the description here also, and we can have a chat about whether it might be a good fit for you, for me, for the others that I work with. I'm super blessed in my life. Not only have I been obsessed with personal and spiritual development for 27 years now, attending events with Tony and Joe and many other teachers, I've also been my own lab rat of personal and spiritual development, as well as had the great honor and blessing now of working with thousands of students and clients. Bottom line, whatever it takes, y'all, it's so worth it to just really take charge of your evolution and just keep making sure that your life gets better and better every year. The world needs you to be your most beautiful, radiant self. And if you found this useful and interesting, check out this video right down here. You might also find it very worthwhile. Thanks so much for tuning in, y'all. Aloha.